Hello everybody and welcome to another push mower video. Yes, you can never have too many push mowers, so I just picked these up for £10 each, 10 British pounds, and I think that's a pretty good deal, even though I don't know what's wrong with them. There's definitely something wrong with both of them. This one on the right here seems to have some kind of kickback, I would say. Probably the flywheel key has sheared, but we'll have to look into that. And this one over here, I have no idea. I haven't even tried to pull it over. And, well, it's quite cracked and it looks like somebody's been feasting on the bag handle there. Probably a dog. Yes, hopefully a dog. I would not want to think that the owner of the mower was the one feasting on the bag. But yeah, we'll give that a go in a minute. But this one is the one I want to go for first because it looks the most promising. It seems the most complete with the least amount of damage. But it's Electrolux, this one. And it's 2004. 2004, weighs 23.5 kilograms, made in Italy. It's a model P4040S with the Briggs & Stratton Sprint 40, which is very similar to the classic engine and the Quattro engine. And then we do have this one over here. Let's see if I can get a closer look at that. Okay, so it's the M40125, 2018. This is 2018, and it looks like it has spent most of the years since then outside. Very faded. Okay, so I'm going to target this one. This might be the only one I do in this episode, depending on how much work there is to do. My greatest concern, as always, is a bent crankshaft. So, if the crankshafts are bent, realistically, they're not really worth bothering with because, well, my time is much better spent restoring the big restoration projects, and I've already done quite a few rebuilds for bent crankshaft mowers, so I'm sure that you don't want to keep seeing them. So we're going to give this one a go, but let's first of all just check the oil, and I'm going to wear a welding glove because I'm very concerned it's going to rip out my hand if it kicks back. Let me just wipe that. Get the impression it's quite empty. I don't know if it's got enough oil in it. Good. Not even registering on the dipstick. Would somebody really drain it and then just not use it? That would seem odd. Maybe they did. Well, good job I didn't try and start it. That's why you always check. And fuel, not that I really want it to start. I'm just dreading a kickback. Yes, if you think it's going to kick back, I really do not advise trying to start it. Yeah, there's a bit of petrol in there. Looks like there's a few grass clippings as well. A nice concoction. Right, so I'm going to put a bit of oil in, and then we'll give it a go. This is what I call test oil. It's only done about half an hour's use. I just use it in various mowers to test them. Then I drain it out again. Yeah, I wonder how low this actually is. It seems quite low. Okay, well that should be enough oil. The blade is on tight, so let's give it a go. Okay, I suspect it's been tipped over. Just got to run them for a few minutes, see if it clears. That was really impressive. The oil burnt off in just 3 or 4 minutes. As suspected, somebody's tipped it over. There must have been oil in the muffler and in the air intake, in the air filter. So the air filter will be changed. I changed the oil. This is a good opportunity to drain the oil actually. It's thinned out and it will have picked up all the dirt from the bottom of the sump. So yeah, that can just go straight into a drain pan. Definitely want to change that. And I'll inspect the flywheel key as well, just to make sure there's no issues there. There was a small amount of surging, which can be the diaphragm and gasket. You can pick up things you don't see on the lawn before you mow. Yeah, that's the problem with this time of year, April. You got all the little catkins and stuff from the willow trees. Never the cleanest cut ever, but at least this has sucked them up. Right, well that can go into compost. It's always worth inspecting the oil. I can't see any metal filings. You definitely don't want to see glitter in your oil. That's never good. We're back in the shed. It's very windy today. A bit more peaceful in here. So you can see how somebody has tipped this over. It just fills the air filter with oil. It looks like most of it came out the exhaust. I think they tipped it over that way and, well, obviously this way as well, but yeah, anyway, that'll be changed. And it's just a good thing to get this all cleaned up. I can clean some of these components in WD-40 when I take them off, but it's a 1/2-inch socket on here and a 3/8 on the front one. It also means I can get that grass out of the fuel tank. There's not too much. It probably won't even cause an issue, but it's just best to do it. It's also worth noting the springs, because if your mower runs really, really fast, then chances are you either have a damaged spring or a missing spring here. You need to make sure they are here, operating correctly. Okay, so with those 2 bolts out, the fuel tank will slide off. There's an O-ring and a retainer, and we do have the grommet here as well. And then that's where you have the springs. The link will actually just come out of there very easily. And now we have the tank on its own. And you can see it's just really grimy. It just needs a bit of a service. First things first, let's have a look at its fuel. I did actually put a bit more in, so I probably have more than what this little pot can hold. Well, there's my first bit, and that's not too bad. There we go. You see the grass in there. So the best thing to do is just to blow the tank out with the airline. It's really not too bad. I'll get that done once we have removed the carburetor. So we do 5 screws under here. 5 screws holding the carburetor to the tank, and then between that we have sandwiched the diaphragm and the gasket. I actually did do a restoration video of 10 of these tanks. I restored 10 all in one go. Definitely worth going back on my channel to find that video. It's amazing how long it takes. Dismantling them, cleaning them up, painting them. I actually powder coated them. And there we have it. Now underneath there we do have a spring. We can't lose that. And I am very pleased that I am doing this, because you can see dirt down there. That's where the fuel gets picked up into the carburetor. Essentially the bowl needs to be cleaned out with the airline. And this is the little mesh filter which will slide off. There's the jet. This is the pickup tube. You need to make sure that's clean. That actually will come out if you really want it to, but usually you can just blow through it. So that's the fuel tank clean and the carburetor clean. You can now put the spring back into position. And we have the mesh screen, which I've just cleaned with the airline. So it's all looking really nice and clean. As we know, the push to prime is working perfectly fine, so that doesn't need changing. And what we do need is the new diaphragm and gasket. So this is part number 795083. Genuine. With these, you can buy aftermarket, non-genuine. You might be changing it again next year though, it's up to you. You might get lucky, but I always fit the genuine. Because they're not even that expensive really, you might as well just fit the genuine. Probably end up spending more in the long run. The diaphragm, which is the thin one, and the gasket. So there is actually a certain configuration for these. You don't just go putting them straight on. You might get lucky, but you don't just do that. You need to put the diaphragm on the tank first, and then you put the gasket directly on top of that, like that. You probably noticed the sticker has gone from here. I actually pulled it off intentionally because I do have a new one. I always try and preempt comments when I'm doing these things, because I can imagine a comment saying, oh, what's the point in putting a new sticker on an unpainted fuel tank? Well, I have about a bazillion of these, and also it's not worth it. It's a used old machine which is just there to mow someone's grass. I haven't yet entered one of these into a beauty contest, but yeah, if I was going to, I would have made it all look very nice. And that is the fuel tank done. So I'm not actually going to fit that just yet. I'm going to sort out the recoil first. This will fall out completely. Yeah, nothing wrong with this at all. We'll just put a new cord in, and then we'll change the handle for a used one. I should have a used one somewhere. And oh crikey, Hoggy, what are you doing here? Get back on your shelf. He doesn't like the shelf. Right, okay. So just going to zap that off so we can have a quick look at the key. Hoggy, trust me, you're not going to like this. I thought as much. Now, as you can see, the key is definitely in one piece. It's intact, it's not sheared. It's not broken in half, so no issues there. Let's get this handle changed. It kind of looks like it's from a children's toy or something, I'm not too sure. Certainly a homemade design. Right, so we are fully extended there. Just going to clamp it using one of these clamps. It keeps it in position, and I can now cut this old one out, and then we can feed that out of here, and then we can feed the new one in. So that does need to be aligned. About there should be fine. And then I've got the new pull cord here, and I just found this. I think it's actually, the silver was the handles they went to for the newer machines. So this is probably a much newer handle, but it will work. It's fine, and it sort of gives it a facelift as well. Okay, so I can go into there, poke that through. And then we can tie the knot on this side. So that's all hidden away in there. And then the other side, what we need to do is we need to feed that through. You can actually do it either way. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. And yeah, the way I do the knots, it is quite chunky, but it's guaranteed to not undo. And it does still fit nicely into there. So just tuck that away. And then we can remove the clamp. And then it's going to want to go pretty fast. So I'll just regulate that. And there you go. So you might be thinking, oh, you've done it too long. But no, the previous one was done so that it wouldn't go on the handle properly. I don't know why. So yeah, there's always going to be this excess, because when I pull it up the handle, we need to have the extra cord, which obviously won't fit in there. And yeah, now it's just the air filter, the oil, put fresh petrol in. I have done a quick clean on this side. I need to clean the other side. Need to clean the whole thing a bit better, actually. It's all good in there. This is what's so good. This is why I'm so tempted to put a bit more time into this machine. It's because it's solid. These are usually just rotten. And also the wheels. I've noticed the wheels are a little bit... It's nothing to do with the bearings, I don't think. It's just the frames they're on. They're very flexible. Yeah, they're very flexible. So it makes it look like the wheel bearings have gone, but they haven't. And they're sort of bent at a strange angle, so I'm going to have to just bend them by hand. It's just soft metal, really soft metal. You can just bend them. Try and make them as straight as possible. Anyway, let's do those few jobs. Nice. I do have a new one. I'll quickly oil it just lightly, just so it can trap dirt. Don't want it to be oozing oil out. Definitely not used engine oil. So we'll just make it look a little bit more presentable, because otherwise it's just going to look like it's leaking. And as we know, it isn't. Until somebody tips it over again. I always like to tip them up backwards rather than onto their sides. That way oil can't leak out. So a little bit of clean new engine oil. We really don't want too much. Just so we can massage it into there. And we can allow it to trap dust. Essentially just making it do its job a bit more effectively. That's all. Don't want it to be actually inhaling the oil and burning it. Right, so there we go. That goes into here. All looking nice and clean. Make sure the cover looks presentable. Right, so there we go. And it goes that way. As we currently don't have any oil in at all, I can tip it onto its side. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing at all wrong with that. It doesn't need a sharpen. I don't know what it is about YouTube, but for some reason, if you don't do something, even if it doesn't need it, you still get criticism saying, oh, you should have sharpened the blade, even though there's nothing wrong with the blade. Just make sure it's tight. Yeah, nice and tight. So there is nothing wrong there. Let's put the oil in. You know, I'm starting to wonder if this machine has even done much. It looks really, really clean under here. There's still loads of original paintwork. Absolutely spot on. Dead on the full mark. Nice, clean, crisp oil. Okay, let's give it a clean. This would explain the flex we had in the handlebars when I was using it. It felt a bit wobbly. Gotta make sure that clears the flap. Yep, just about. So we'll just put a bolt in there instead. Got the fresh fuel in. Let's put the bag on and we'll give it a go. It runs cleanly, but I don't know if you spotted it or heard it. It's popping. It's really popping. Much more than it was popping before. And I think this is going back to the original first impression that I got where it felt strange. And I think the reason why is because we do have a valve clearance issue. It wasn't really showing its true colours before, but now it is. Now that we've done the diaphragm and gasket, and it's running with more power, it's just revealing quite significantly actually the popping and spluttering that it is now causing, creating from the valves, most likely the exhaust valve. So to do this we're going to have to take the head off. You don't actually need to remove the head to check the valve clearances, but you do to adjust them, because this is a flat head, not an overhead valve. Just move the muffler out of the way. And this here is the valve cover. Inside here we have the valve springs, and that's where we can check the clearances. At least I can clean the deck more thoroughly now. So I'm going to check the valve clearances now. The intake needs to be between 5 and 7 thousandths of an inch, and the exhaust needs to be 7 and 9 thousandths of an inch. So we'll do the intake first, as it's on the top. I've got the exhaust valve fully open, and I'm just going to go in between with both. So we'll do 6 thousandths of an inch for the intake. That's not going to happen. So now I'm going to go beyond where we should be, just to see what it really is, because that is super tight. I'll choose probably 2/2 of an inch. Yep, that fits. Now I'll do 4. 4 doesn't fit. So intake is definitely too tight. Looks like it's probably a 3. And now we'll try the exhaust. This needs to be between 7 and 9. So we'll go with 8. Yep, 8 fits nicely. So it seems we do have an issue with the intake. I'll just make sure it's not too out of spec in the other direction with the exhaust. 10 does fit. Okay, let's see how far we have to go then. 11 just fits, but it does fit. So this is interesting. Now we'll go crazy, we'll go with 13. 13 actually will fit with some persuasion, so technically it doesn't fit, but it's probably 12. So this is interesting. We are out of spec for both of them in opposite directions. The intake, easily solved. Just need to grind a bit off. The exhaust, I can lap it in. That'll give us a bit. Before I do anything else, what I really need to do is just take them out and examine them. But this is the thing. This is the thing with push mowers. You start something which you think is going to be fast and easy, and you can just make a quick bit of money in your spare time, and you can. But if you're going buying them in a condition where their solder's broken, then yeah, you may well end up in a situation like this. And whilst we have the head off, when we've done the valve work, I'll give that a quick sandblast and we'll get it all nice and clean, get rid of all this crusty carbon, because these are really sharp. If these break off, these little chunks of carbon, which you can see they do break off quite easily, they can get stuck in the rings and they can scratch the bore to death. So it's good that they're cleaned. Let's have the exhaust valve out first. This just needs a little bit grinding off the end so we can get that perfect. Certainly not the easiest way of doing it, but it works. Much easier when the engine is out of the machine. Just wire wheeled the valve, nice and clean. Let's put it back in again. This is 5/1000 of an inch. Sorry if I'm blocking the view there. I'm just pushing in on the valve to make it as tight as possible to simulate the valve spring. And yeah, it needs a bit more filing off, but it's not far off. Well, I just checked another exhaust valve in this engine and actually I got the same result. So it looks like it's probably not the valve. We may have wear to the valve tapper, the push rod there, potentially. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a bit of weld on the top of here and then grind it back, and hopefully that will give us the correct clearance. Well, there we have it. And it's a case of just fitting it, checking it, taking it out, filing a bit more off, and then putting it back in, rechecking it, and the process continues. So I've managed to get it to 8. Yeah, 7 or 8. And that's before putting the spring in, so it may well get a bit tighter when the spring goes in. Yeah, it's 8. So that is perfect. That is dead in spec, right in the middle, and that will hopefully solve that problem. I think the intake valve was the primary issue, even though the exhaust valve also was out of spec. They're both out of spec, but yeah, that has improved them a great deal. So what I would do now is I'll sandblast the head. Just quickly put that in the sandblaster. Remove that crust, we don't want the crust. And I'll also wire wheel the face here, piston head. And then we can put the cylinder head back on again, put a new gasket on the valve cover as well, and reassemble, and we'll retest. There it is, all sandblasted, and the most important thing is to make sure there's no sandblasting media in the threads for the spark plugs. When you put the spark plug in, it will put all the grit into the cylinder bore, which is really not what we want. So that's all ready. I cleaned it with carburetor cleaner and some compressed air. So we've got a new head gasket. We'll get that fitted. And I'm now going to reassemble everything, and then we can take it for a test. Definitely an improvement over what it was before, and at the end of the day, it is a 21-year-old machine. It's cheap. I'm sure somebody can put it to good use, and yeah, I still prefer these over quite a lot of the new ones. At least it has a Briggs & Stratton engine, which I'm a big fan of. Okay, everybody, we'll have a look at the Husqvarna mower in the next video if it's worth doing. Well, it's probably not worth doing, but we'll probably try and get it running, and then I can use the parts in another project. But until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.